is the Climate Alarm Clock podcast, and I'm Anna Pringle. We have had the privilege this season of finding out about a lot of different people and groups who are all taking meaningful action to tackle climate change. For our final episode, we're coming back to an organisation that we featured earlier this season, back in April. Not Here, Not Anywhere is a grassroots organisation who campaign against fossil fuels. You might remember their famous LNG rap that we featured last time.
Food shortage, extreme weather and societal tension. If you're not worried about the climate, you're not paying attention to the forces of greed versus the forces of nature. Optimism bias won't stop the melting of glaciers. Yeah, everything looks rosy out the over.
But I'm joined today by a member of Not Here, Not Anywhere, Róisín. And Róisín is going to ask us all for help with a campaign that they're working on to keep Ireland LNG free. The group has been successful in getting a bill introduced to the Dáil, and now they're working hard to make sure that it goes through the next stages and eventually to a vote and gets signed into law. I started by asking Róisín to remind us about the work that Not Here, Not Anywhere does.
Hi Anna, thanks so much for having me on the podcast. And I suppose now that Dylan and Angela have been on too, we're official friends of the pod now. But yeah, so Not Here, Not Anywhere. We're a grassroots, non-partisan, and we're an all-volunteer group. And basically our aim is we campaign to stop the development of fossil fuel infrastructure in Ireland and abroad.
And so Róisín, you're here to tell us about a new campaign that you have coming up that you want people to be aware of and support, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So we launched a campaign to keep Ireland LNG free in February of this year. So LNG is liquefied natural gas. We don't currently have any LNG projects operating in Ireland, and we want to keep it that way because liquefied natural gas and burning that gas is extremely harmful for the climate. It's not in line with our targets or keeping climate change below 1.5 degrees of warming. So we launched that campaign earlier this year through a bill that was introduced to government by Green Party TD Neasa Hourigan back in February.
Tell us why LNG is so bad particularly, and where is the LNG supposed to be coming from to Ireland?
Yeah, so LNG, it's a fossil gas. It's gas that has been liquefied and is then shipped around the world on massive tankers. Then when it gets to its final location, it's regasified and used as natural gas. LNG is particularly damaging. Its main component is methane, or a primary component of the gas is methane, and its greenhouse gas warming potential is 86 times higher than that of carbon dioxide. So it's a really potent gas.
And where is that LNG coming from? Or where would it be coming from to Ireland?
Primarily from the US. And it's interesting because LNG has many kind of human rights issues as well. Often it comes from fracked gas sources, and fracking gas is particularly damaging to the environment and the communities in the locality. Fracking gas is banned in Ireland currently, but not in the US.
So even though we have banned fracking gas, we would be importing fracked gas from the US.
Exactly. And we would be burning that gas here.
Okay, so you mentioned that Neasa Hourigan had brought in a bill to address this. So why are you focusing on this now? What's happening now that we need to be paying attention to?
Yeah, so Neasa Hourigan introduced the bill in February. And that was through our work with Neasa as part of the campaign. But I suppose since then, as we all know, we've had the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and the US has signed a deal with the EU to increase, the amount of LNG that I suppose they're trade deals. But LNG is often, touted as a kind of energy transition, as a transition fuel, essentially. But the science says fossil gas, can't be regarded as a low carbon transition fuel. It's extremely harmful. Modelling in Ireland has shown that we need to start reducing gas from 2020. From yesterday. We don't need it. Oil and gas is particularly vulnerable to geopolitical shocks, as we've seen with the spike in oil and gas prices recently. And renewables like wind and solar just aren't subject to the same price volatility. We have enough supply to meet demand currently. Many studies have shown that in Ireland, and we can increase our energy efficiency and our indigenous renewable energy supply to meet demand. Renewable energy is also cleaner and cheaper, and in the long term is going to create a lot more jobs than fossil fuel infrastructure. And the fastest way of reducing emissions is not going to be by burning fossil fuels.
So, Róisín, you're not buying the theory that we need to do this for energy security then, because that's what we're hearing a lot, that it's about energy security. And that's why, for example, the Commission for Regulation of Utilities has just said that they will give incentives to LNG terminal operators to set up here because of energy security concerns. So you don't accept that?
Exactly. I guess the conversation is about energy security now and in the short term, but an LNG terminal doesn't just get built and start operating overnight. And in fact, it would delay the energy transition. LNG projects have a 2 to 5 year lead time for approval for construction. And even at that, 60% of projects of LNG projects don't even end up going ahead. And in terms of fossil fuel lock-in, we really just can't afford to delay improving our energy security and transitioning to net zero, which is what LNG will do, because it takes so long as well to get a project off the ground. For Shannon LNG was first proposed in 2006. It's been the subject of many court cases since then on environmental grounds. And by the time LNG is set up in Ireland, it's not going to solve a short-term problem in response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
And it's going to bake us into long-term fossil fuel infrastructure that once we have it, we'll feel like we have to use it, right?
Yeah, what that does is it slows down investment into clean energy and locks in fossil fuel use for the next 30 years. Some organizations are calling for LNG terminals. We can use them for hydrogen down the line, but really in terms of, it's going to be a huge challenge in terms of economics and technicalities to change these terminals to become hydrogen terminals. And in fact, the only way to really do it would have them become fossil hydrogen terminals or facilities. So it's really not a goer in terms of a clean energy future.
So coming back to Not Here, Not Anywhere, and you have a new campaign you want to tell us about. So tell us what exactly you're trying to do and why now?
Yeah, so I guess we have launched the bill, and having this bill enacted would ensure that LNG import terminals cannot be constructed in Ireland, which would effectively ban LNG imports. In terms of what we all can do, since we launched the campaign, we've had more than 40 Oireachtas members sign up to our LNG free pledge. Everybody can sign our petition, which is on our website, lngfree.ie, and policymakers can sign the pledge. Essentially, we have the mandate. The government, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, have said on multiple occasions that we don't need LNG in the past and earlier this year. At this stage, we just need the political will. So I guess we're calling on, everyone around the country to sign our petition and really give this the momentum that it needs, because now is the time to get off gas. There's no better time than now.
And what happens if everyone does that? The bill could be brought forward and could be passed. Is that, and then be brought into law? Is that what you're aiming for?
Yes, this bill would enact legislation to ban LNG infrastructure in Ireland, which would stop these projects. There's 4 planned for Ireland currently, and this bill would put an end to that.
Great, Róisín. So we want to get that bill brought across the line and have those projects banned before they start building them. And that's what Not Here, Not Anywhere is campaigning for right now. So if I want to get involved in that, what do? I can sign the petition. I assume I should be writing to my politicians or calling my politicians about it. What's your recommendation?
So our main call to action is to sign the petition. We currently have 760 signatures. We're always looking for people to join Not Here, Not Anywhere. If you'd like to volunteer with the campaign, we meet every Monday night, and you can get in touch with us at info@notherenotanywhere.com and join any week to get involved in the campaign.
It's very timely, and it's a good time for people to get involved and for people to put on pressure on our politicians to remind them that we don't want LNG terminals in Ireland.
Exactly. The IPCC in April told us very clearly that we need immediate and deep cuts to emissions, that, there should be no new fossil fuel infrastructure. The science couldn't be clearer. Renewables are cheaper, and building LNG import terminals are only going to lock us in to 30 years of climate chaos, essentially.
Right. And also I saw in some reports coming out of the US that LNG terminals have health implications for the people living in the neighbourhood as well. So it's also something to consider for people wanting to introduce them in Shannon or wherever.
Yeah, exactly. There is health implications, along the full life cycle of LNG. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of LNG is extracted by fracking, and this leads to health impacts like, respiratory diseases and increased cancer rates in communities that are near those sites. And there's a racial and justice element to this as well.
And problems with water as well. And so even if we don't care about the fracking health problems in the US, if it comes to Shannon, for example, there are risks of chemical leaks, of air quality issues. There are health risks for the people in the area living nearby.
Yeah, exactly. These are all risks to the Shannon estuary and the communities around that area. Not only would that impact on the people there, but also on, tourism and the mental and physical effects on the communities in North Kerry and along the Shannon estuary.
Okay, so a lot to think about there. Best of luck with your campaign. We will make sure to put in the show notes the links to how people can help and get involved. And thank you for being a friend of the Climate Alarm Clock podcast, Róisín, and Not Here, Not Anywhere team.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having us on.
Thank you, Róisín. And as Róisín was telling us, the bill has been introduced to the Dáil, but that's only the first stage, and there's lots of work to be done to get it over the line and ultimately to protect Ireland from the potential damage caused by LNG terminals. If you would like to get involved in the LNG Free campaign, you can sign the petition. You can also find out if your local TD has signed the pledge and encourage them to do that if they haven't. That's it from us for now, and of course we have to finish with another blast of the LNG rap, written by a member of Not Here, Not Anywhere.
Ignore reports, then they feed us lies. Shannon, Cork, Jesus Christ, you won't fool us once, you won't fool us twice. Shannon, Cork, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Naz told me sleep is the cousin of death. The doctors gave us 12 years, we've only 10 of them left. 10 years, focus on the next decade. Not that LNG company in Texas state who are poisoning the water and ruining lives as well as desecrating lands of indigenous tribes. This is a textbook example of the many v the few. LNG has 3 letters and they don't include you. As career politicians hope that nobody's listening while they fast track decisions based on corporate interest. They liberally dodge discussion, put democracy in a headlock. Don't drink.